Welcome to the Gray Area Week 12 stand-up. It is November the 30th.
That was week 13.
It is week 13.
Week 13 stand-up.
Cut it out. Cut it out.
Cut it, start over.
Who knows what week it is anymore?
The date.
Edit it in post.
November 30th, right?
Yeah, you're
I got
right.
that part right.
Yeah.
See, I get that part right, I get the other part wrong. It's always one or the other. Welcome to the Gray Area Week 13 stand-up, November the 30th. Today was a build review day, the second to last one. So what we're going to do, we're going to go around and talk about what we worked on since we last met, any roadblocks we've been encountering, things that were on the docket for getting into this build that didn't. We're going to talk about what work we have on those, how long we think it's going to take to finish up those tasks. And then I also want everybody to talk about what they think went right the most for this sprint, what they think went wrong this sprint, and what they think is going to be kind of the majority of their workload for this next sprint to get things kind of wrapped up and in a good final place. So, Kalana, why don't you start us off?
Hi, I'm Kalana. I am one of the level designers. What I've worked on this week was getting the planks that could be telekinetic onto the ranch, and also making sure all the fences were from the duplicates of the prefabs. So what I want to actually add onto the ranch I'm going to be working on is, because I noticed that there's a lot of objects on the ranch site, and like there's groups of like just small rocks, and then the gray can run into those, so I might want to put on the rigid body and then the object weight on that, so in case the gray runs into it, it can pick it up and probably throw it at a soldier. I don't know. And what I think that went well for this semester is sprint is that we got a majority of what we wanted into the level. For the ranch site, I liked how like now the ranch is on flat ground, because back then it was like the fences were raised up because of how janky the terrain was. So it kind of looks like a regular ranch, and from the images we looked up, both look accurate, close enough. And what I believe went wrong was for trying to learn how to do anything with like merging or any not through of like the game itself, just like working with other stuff, because in the learning process it was kind of hard to memorize everything, so I was constantly never asking help for the same thing over and over and over again. So it was mostly on me, not anything else. And that was it.
Good morning. I'm Jessica, and I am an art intern. This last week I worked on particle effects for days. But
You will work for particle effects forever.
oh, you know it. That's all I do. Roadblocks this week was I had to crunch a little bit to get things done, along with my workload outside of this studio, so that was a little unfortunate. Things that I did but didn't get in the build was the fire effect was done. I don't know if it actually made it in. I recolored it and affected the... Oh, it was there? I didn't see it. I'm sorry.
Because you pushed it and Devin merged it, so it should have automatically updated it.
Yeah, it was a light orange, and I darkened it a little bit in editor.
Because it was the same effect in your version of Unity. It was the same name and everything. You're just modifying that, right?
Yeah.
Then yeah, it did get updated.
Okay. My bad. That made it in. I think the Dust Devil didn't, though. That got finished on time on Wednesday. Things that went right. The build got together really nicely. Everything seemed to work, which is good. Things that went wrong, I think communication could have been a little bit better this week, because I was definitely pretty concerned. Anything else I'm supposed to say?
What do you think you're going to be working on over the next sprint?
Okay, polishing up my final few particles, and then probably finishing up final things for the crash site scene. I'm a little burnt out, don't mind me.
Just make 20 more particle effects.
You got it.
Hi, Michaela, storyboard artist. this week, basically Tuesday, I killed myself to basically finish the storyboard and sent that off to Devin. And I'm like 85% happy with it, so for the next week I want to like polish it up and do some things, especially the next Monday, because Portillo is going to give us a lot of effects, and I'm like, yes, give me. So that's gonna happen. I'm dead, so I'm trying to remember what I'm supposed to say as well.
What do you think you're gonna be working on? Oh yeah, problems with this sprint, things that went well with this sprint, and then also
The sprint in general with people, or just me?
just in general.
There was kind of a lack of communication, because the last time we had crunched this, we were all just talking with each other, but this one I just kind of agree with Jessica in the sense of like, we just kind of all just did our separate thing and threw it at Dev. And well, I will say that, and I'm glad that he didn't stay up till like 1 a.m. It still was just like, everyone was a ghost. Though we did get everything done, and we didn't stay up till 3 a.m., so that's a plus.
Alright, Devin Garrett, programmer. This week has been, for the most part, just getting everyone's things implemented into the build. As for what I have left to do, not a ton. If we're wanting to add any more mechanics, I can get the groundwork set up for that, but it seems like at this point it's just potentially polishing up some code, commenting some of the code that I've done this semester, and then getting the final build assembled and polished. As for what went well this sprint was I was able to get the sky system fully set up, and then we were able to get the build done without, as Michaela was saying, staying up until 3 a.m. As for what could have gone better, I should have blocked out, I'm going to say, less time for the sky system, as I got it done a bit faster than expected. But besides that, the low amount of communication wasn't really much of an issue, at least on my end, because everything that I was implementing was able to be implemented rather easily and rather automatically. So that was good, and yeah.
And I'm Jeff, the other art intern. I've been working on fueling assets for the airbase scene. God, I'm just burned out. My brain is like, you know, I'm trying to start an old car. It just doesn't want to start.
Just the sputtering
We're all
engine.
dead.
Yeah, you're just the rusty car. That's in the junkyard.
Feels like I'm around and shoot myself with. But anyways, things that went right. I really liked the new lighting system. It doesn't look like we're in broad daylight anymore. Communication is probably one of the things that I probably could have done a lot better, but I'm just dying.
We're all dying on the inside.
Hi, Garrett. I'm also not very awake right now. This week I worked in the crouch animations. I need to touch up on those still. This week also, I talked with Lynn today about streamlining those animations so they aren't as stiff and janky. What could have gone better? Well, I could have not gotten food poisoning yesterday.
Oh, yikes.
Well, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, they did show shrimp, didn't they?
Why would you eat the seafood here?
Yeah.
Why would you eat the food here?
Besides that, probably as everyone else, communication, but nothing much else. I'm very tired.
I'm Kylie, I'm the art lead. As of this last week, I mainly just finished up all my UI elements, got those implemented, which is actually, I'll kind of be messing around with. I noticed there were some scaling issues with some of them when we opened the build this morning, so I'll be working on that this next week, as well as
the anchoring, probably.
yeah, I think so. Well, I noticed the main menu ones they're really small considering what they look like when
Well,
I had them
and
open.
when I ran the build on my computer at home last night, they were appropriately sized, so it's just the resolutions being a little different.
So I'll probably talk to Charles about that because I know he was talking about better ways on how to do it. And so just kind of messing around with that. And then I do believe I don't really have. I'll implement the UI elements for the disguise system because I do have the bars and like knobs built up for that. Yep. And then just any other tasks that I have we completed. The only impediment I've had is that I've been sick, so it really hasn't been fun trying to get stuff done because all I want to do is sleep. But it is what it is. I got all my things done before Wednesday that needed to be in the build, so I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, so what went right during this sprint is that we pretty much got a lot of the things that we needed to implement for the crash site and the ranch implemented, which I thought was pretty good because we had quite a docket to go on for that to finish up. I really don't think personally the communication wasn't a problem for me because everybody was just kind of crunching to get their stuff done and we all got it implemented, so I don't see that being a huge issue, but we do need to just remember to keep communication going. So overall, it seemed to be a pretty good sprint, but yeah.
Marcos Eswar, our intern. Last week I was attempting to create assets for the interior of the farmhouse. However, there was a family matter that occurred and I was unable to do anything for the past 2 weeks. As a result, hopefully I'm going to try to get everything done by the end of the week and get that sorted out. And for the next sprint, hopefully get the assets finished and textured and ready to go for the interior environment for the farmhouse.
Name's Travis, level design. So the past week I was working on the lighting, baking out the lighting again. The wonderful load of lighting. And also just like doing some like minor maintenance with the crash site to make it more polished, like looking for those floating objects and putting them actually on the ground. For the next like weeks or few weeks, I'll probably continue to polish up the crash site where it needs to, maybe mess around the lighting a bit more, and I guess the reflection probe, because that's in there as well, and I haven't really messed around with it too much.
We need to figure out why it's being weird when we bake that again.
Yeah, so figure that out. In terms of what went right, I'd say the crash site. So not to brag or anything, but I think the crash site was turned out really well with the lighting and things. What went wrong is finding out that the barrels are apparently the wrong barrels in the crash site, and they're wooden barrels. They're supposed to be apparently drums.
But we got it fixed.
Okay, so yeah. Other than that, there's nothing else.
Yeah, I'm moving on budget, okay?
Yeah. Since last we met, I've been trying to figure out what documentation we need for next semester, help with the build, made sure a couple of things were touched up on so that way they'd be easier for Devin to merge in. I replaced the barrels and fixed some of the collider stuff with that. You can use other types of colliders. You don't have to use only box colliders.
Oh. Well, you're saying, yeah, you're getting mixed messages. You're saying like replace all the mesh colliders with box colliders, but then also
You don't want mesh colliders, but you can use capsule colliders, sphere colliders, box colliders. Because I noticed all of the barrels had box colliders, and so I swapped them all out to be. When I swapped them to the oil drum, I also swapped them to be
capsule.
Capsule colliders. I also spent a lot of time just looking at the way we have stuff set up in the project. The way things are prefabbed, aren't prefabbed. I'm trying to identify a bunch of process trouble spots that we have that will make things go smoother. As far as what went well with the sprint, you guys are all at the point where you've got that, you're getting that little extra 10% that makes your stuff easy to merge in, which is why Devin didn't have to fix other people's stuff. He was fixing all the shit from last semester that broke. Which means that, again, that was just a reinforcement of my idea that there's a lot of the problems we encounter are because of a not great basis as far as prefabbing and organization and stuff like that in the project, which is kind of started last semester, and we just haven't had anybody really go in and clean stuff up. Charles did a little bit of it, but then we didn't have all the branches update. So I'm kind of future proofing for what's probably gonna be my work between semesters. So that way when nobody's touching the build, no one's messing with the branches, I'll be able to go through, make the cleanup, and then have that get pulled into every single branch. So starting next semester, things are going a lot smoother. And I agree with Devin and Kylie that the communication wasn't an issue as far as getting the build put together, because we're getting that last bit of all the work is wrapped up in a bow. But the part of the communication that's important is making sure that everybody knows when your stuff's done, and then on the other side of that, making sure that people who have stuff done knowing that their stuff is in, because that's where we end up stumbling a bunch, is like, oh hey, is this thing in? Have we taken a look at it, make sure it's all good to go? But again, that's just, we're going from the last 10% is what we need to work on to the last 6% is what we need to work on, which is just, forward steps in process development. As far as things that went poorly, again, it's all process stuff. Just making sure that where information is coming from is clear, making sure that expectations are clear, making sure that, nobody's, like, I don't want any of you guys to freak out and crunch over the Wednesday deadline. But anything that was gonna be in for the build needed to be in by then. That could have been communicated better. Because ultimately, it had the effect on the process that conversation needed, but as far as how people responded to that and the more empathetic side of that was definitely a big failure. But again, that's just, if that was a process we had clearly outlined from the get-go, we wouldn't be trying to, hit it with a wrench right here at the end.
Monkey wrench.
Yeah, I think that's primarily the stuff for the build review. We'll also do our retrospective. Do not let me forget. We've forgotten like the last 3 times.
Is Lynn getting on you for that?
No, it's no one's getting on me for that. It's just that we need to do it.
Yeah.
It was super valuable last semester, and we've just been forgetting every single time this semester to do it.
I'm gonna slack it to you.
Yeah, that's a good idea, and then I just won't look at the notification until we've done it. But yeah, otherwise we had a very productive sprint. We've had a very we've had a high quality semester. We've got a lot of quality work done, and there's just process stuff that we can improve on, and that's pretty much it.